A very furious Ukrainian President Zelenskyy is striking back hard and checkmating Donald Trump in public as Donald Trump removed sanctions against Russian oil. And then just yesterday, Trump removed additional sanctions against Russian shipping vessels as Donald Trump continues to attack NATO and say that after this war is over, Donald Trump's catastrophic war against Iran, we're going to pull out of NATO, or we'll see what we're going to do about NATO. Zelenskyy is uniting Europe and making it very clear, not only is Ukraine part of Europe, but Ukraine is going to be a leader in Europe when it is welcomed into the European Union eventually, and it should have already happened already, in my humble opinion, but that Ukraine is providing the security umbrella for Europe, and that a strong European security umbrella could allow Europe to become a leader of the free world. And by the way, I wouldn't be shocked if that aligns with kind of the Canadian military interests as well, and then some of the interests in Asia that Mark Carney is helping to unite. And I think Zelenskyy is a critical and pivotal player in that. Let me just show you what went down over the past 12 to 24 hours as well. I mean, it's one of the things that Zelensky's been repeating, though, is he goes, what do you think about Donald Trump liking you? And does he like you? Zelenskyy goes, look, I'm not a box of chocolate or a car to be liked or not liked. What matters is I serve my people and fulfill my duties. And then yesterday, President Zelenskyy gave this powerful speech and said, when I toured the Middle East, when I met with the leaders of Qatar and UAE and Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Kuwait, and they were asking for Ukrainians' help in building a security umbrella there that the United States could not do, as they were asking for our drone interceptor technology, our drone surveillance technology, our affirmative drone offensive capabilities, our unmanned vessel capabilities and unmanned vessel interceptor technology. What was obvious to these Arab nations is that Ukraine is Europe, Europe is Ukraine, and Ukraine is a leader in providing security throughout for its allies. Watch what he said yesterday. Powerful speech indeed. Here, play this clip.
In the Middle East and the Gulf, when countries turn to Ukraine for support, they see Ukraine as Europe. They see it as working with Europe. No one there doubts that Ukraine is Europe. Ukraine's contribution to global stability is seen as Europe's contribution by everyone in the world. So why, in some key issues, is Ukraine still limited as a part of Europe? Ukraine's EU membership is a security guarantee for us and for Europe. Our potential, human, technological, military, is Europe's potential. Russia understands this, sometimes better than some in Europe. That is why Russia does everything to stop Ukraine from joining the EU, and that is why we are doing everything to make it happen.
But then Zelenskyy also reflected about how the U.S. keeps on saying, well, we're not really interested in talking about Russia's invasion of Ukraine anymore. We're too busy dealing with Iran. So, yeah, we're going to let up the sanctions on Russia and let them sell their oil and make billions of dollars a day. We're going to invite the Russian Duma leaders to Capitol Hill, and we're going to then also release Russian sanctions, or remove Russian sanctions on certain vessels. But we're just too busy to deal with that. We're focused on Iran right now. What are you focused on doing there? Donald Trump doing press conferences where he just lies every day. Here, play this clip.
We have such risks, of course, because American side, it's not a secret, they're very open with this, that their focus is Iran. That Ukraine is not the first priority. They shared this message with my team, and my team said that, look, but in any way we have such big, they said, yes, it's very important for us, the situation in Ukraine, the situation with the war, Russia against Ukraine, but you have to know this, our army is in Iran, and that's why our focus is on Middle East. We hope, they say, we hope that in the closest future the war will end, and we will come back to yours.
And then Zelenskyy, in this very revealing moment, says, I'll tell you what the United States has been repeating over and over again, that Donald Trump and Marco Rubio in the U.S., they keep on saying, withdraw from Donbass, get out of Donbass, and then we could try to make a deal. You just give up your territory, give up the Donbass region. And Zelensky's like, I'm not going to give up Donbass. Like, what are you talking about? Here, play this clip.
You have to withdraw, and we will give you security guarantees. And it doesn't matter what way. I heard it not once. So it's understandable for us, and it's understandable for Russians, and it's very understandable for American side. It's truth, but it's not about just American side. It's the ultimatum from Russia. For today, American side can't change the ultimatum of Russia. I think they can. I think that President Trump has enough power for this. He demonstrated it not once. He has this to change Russian these narratives.
And it's notable because in the past 12 hours as well, Russia has repeated its public demand. Zelenskyy, Ukraine, withdraw from Donbass immediately. You have 2 months to withdraw or we are going to seize it by force. You've been trying to seize it by force. You want Donald Trump to extort Zelenskyy or to help hand over territory to you through coercion and other means, that which you can obtain on the battlefield through your invasion of Ukraine. And that's what Russia views as a peace deal. They want Donbass, then they're going to go into Kyiv. They're just going to keep taking. That is who they are. I mean, no doubt that is who they are. Going back to Zelenskyy here for a moment as well. During this speech also, he said, look, you know, we've always tried to have the backs of the people in Iran. And despite the fact that there's so much disinformation in the United States right now, we still believe that the American hearts have not grown so cold. And again, this is a clear reference to Donald Trump here. Play this clip.
We also see that many Iranians around the world respect Ukraine and are grateful that we did not stay silent about their pain and their desire to end dictatorship and live freely. And we all should act to help them, of course. And we feel that despite all the disinformation, American hearts have not grown cold. They support those who fight for freedom, and they support us in defending ourselves against Russian aggression. It's very important.
Hey everybody, Ben Meiselas here from the MeidasTouch Network. I wanted to let you know about my podcast partner, Michael Popak's new law firm. It's called the Popak Firm. Michael Popak's pursuing his dream of starting his own law firm, really based on the popular demand by all the Meidas Mighty and legal AFers who were approaching Michael Popak with their cases and saying, can you help us? And at that time, Popak was not able to. So he went out on his own. He started the Popak Firm, where he is now handling catastrophic injury cases like car accident cases, trucking cases, malpractice cases, big negligence cases, wrongful death cases. So if you or someone you know have a case like this, the consultation with Popak's firm is free. Give him a call. See if you have a case. It's thepopakfirm.com, thepopakfirm.com, or you can call 877-POPOK-AF, P-O-P-O-K-A-F. So 1-877-POPOK-AF. Give Michael Popak a call. And I'm really proud of you, Popak. Thanks for all the hard work you're putting in. Now, an official account of the Polish armed forces also refuted Russia's disinformation campaign aimed at convincing audiences that Ukraine is using Polish airspace for strikes on Russian territory. You had the following Polish armed forces statement. In connection with false information appearing in the public domain, I firmly emphasize claims about the alleged provision of Polish airspace for offensive operations against the Russian Federation are completely false and have no basis in fact. Also, Russia's turning up its disinformation campaign and trying to help Viktor Orban, who is far behind in the election, which is set to take place in less than 2 weeks in Hungary, where we expect a pro-democracy coalition to beat Viktor Orban, but we also expect there to be a huge amount of tampering in that election by Putin and by Trump, who are trying to prop Orban up. As I mentioned, in the past 24 to 48 hours, the United States removing sanctions against Russian vessels. They already removed sanctions against Russian oil, but now they're removing sanctions against Russian vessels themselves as well. The United States has removed sanctions from 3 Russian vessels, according to an update from the U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control. The ships affected are the container vessels, and I'll list who they are. Ship tracking data shows that these vessels are currently throughout various locations. With sanctions lifted, the vessels can once again access ports, insurance, financial transactions, and international maritime services that had previously been restricted under U.S. sanctions. So, folks, as Russia is materially helping Iran, and they're saying it publicly, both the Iranian president, Pezeshkian, and Putin, they're saying it publicly, as they're helping to arm Iran, attack American military bases with precision, attack American soldiers. As that is taking place, Donald Trump keeps lifting sanctions and keeps on helping Putin over and over and over again. Now, one thing that Zelenskyy is doing, though, as Donald Trump is lifting the sanctions, and I highlighted this in a report that I did yesterday, Zelenskyy has been very successful in attacking all of the Russian bases of their oil exports, all of their oil export centers. Russia's seaborne oil exports collapsed in the wake of Ukraine's strikes on various Russian ports, with only 22 tankers for the whole of last week, down 45%. And as this Kyiv Independent story explains, hundreds of kilometers inside Russia, oil refineries burst into flames. Like 40% of the oil refineries in Russia have now been taken out, between 40 and 50% by Ukraine. And the sky above airfields and weapon factories are filled with thick black smoke. The data shows Ukraine is systematically targeting Russian air defense systems to open gaps in coverage and reach critical infrastructure like weapons factories deep inside the territory. Also, in terms of Ukraine's ability to strike down these FPV drones, ballistic missiles, and Shahed drones, take a look at Ukraine's interception rate as it continues to improve. Right, in October 2025, 79%, 84% in November, 81% in December. In 2026, in January, 83% interception rate, 87% interception rate in February, a 90% interception rate in March. No wonder all of these nations want to cut deals with Ukraine to help stop the Iranian ballistic missile, Shahed drones, and FPV drones as well. Finally, Zelenskyy posted the message about his conversations with the Chancellor of Germany, Friedrich Merz. During my conversation with the Chancellor of Germany, I informed him about my visit to countries in the Middle East and the protection systems we are offering to partners. I am grateful for the high assessment of our contribution to strengthening the protection of lives. Ukraine is ready for similar cooperation with European countries for the security of our continent. Friedrich updated me on his diplomatic contacts. We discussed in detail the negotiation process aimed at ending Russia's war against Ukraine, as well as our communication with the American side. Thank you for your principled position. Ukraine has never been and will never be an obstacle to peace. We are preparing contacts with partners in a broader format to coordinate positions and develop joint steps. Next month, we'll also see extensive bilateral work with Germany. Thank you. And then in this message that Zelenskyy made also in the past 12 hours, he said, look, we're ready for any ceasefire, an Easter ceasefire, a 30-day ceasefire, a 60-day ceasefire. We are not the barrier to ceasefires and peace. We're trying to have peace. Russia is the bad guy. It's pretty obvious, right? The problem is that Trump is the bad guy and has turned the U.S. into Putin bootlicker right now. And we all need to pay attention to what's taking place before our very eyes. The Russian Duma going to the Capitol last week, meeting with the State Department, the top Russian Duma leaders, basically like their senators. Donald Trump removing Russian oil sanctions, Donald Trump removing sanctions from Russian vessels, Donald Trump and Marco Rubio and his regime claiming that Russia isn't providing support to Iran and they don't know about it, while Iran targets American military bases. We have 13 military bases in the Middle East that have now been evacuated as a result of Iran being able to strike them with impunity, right? You had the big strike in Saudi Arabia and Riyadh. Who do you think's giving them this information? It's the Russians. We all know it's the Russians. Oh yeah, and by the way, Donald Trump letting the Russian ship bring the oil into Cuba, which, by the way, it's a war crime that Donald Trump was committing against Cuba. The embargo is a crime against humanity, regardless of your views of the Cuban regime. What Donald Trump was doing was a crime against humanity of the Cuban people, in my humble opinion. But Donald Trump was acting all tough. I did this embargo. Nobody can get through. Nobody can go to Cuba. And the Russian ship just went right into Cuba. And Donald Trump's like, of course you can come in. But Mexico, you can't. Colombia, you can't. Canada, you can't. None of our allies can. Just Russia can help Cuba. Why? To set up a base in Cuba right now to more strongly cement Russian influence over Cuba right off the coast of Florida? Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Anyway, hit subscribe. Help me get to 7 million subscribers. Let's hit 7 million together. I think we'll get there. Thanks for watching and have a good one.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.